how India legally stole world's most expensive medicines. And I'm absolutely okay with that because drugs in the U.S., at least they've said medication is going to go down. The cost for medication is going to go down. But the fact that that has basically always been cheap, dirt cheap in India. Like paying for a pill is just like, why the heck is this so cheap when in like the US you pay hundreds of dollars for that. Hundreds of dollars. So yeah, I'm just going to check it out.
This is Saradon. Now this Saradon costs around 40 rupees and it fixes a headache in minutes. And I'm pretty sure every Indian family has this. But let's look closely.
I wonder, would I be able to take that one? Or is that the other? Because the one I took was the I already forgot the name. Because I'm allergic to some kind of medication or something that's in like painkillers that I can't take. I've never taken that one. Never taken that one.
Flip this paper and let's see who makes it. Bayer Pharmaceuticals. Now this Saradon might be cheap, but in 2008, Bayer introduced another drug in India that was not. This is Nexavar. It treats late-stage kidney and liver cancer. It can extend a patient's life by 4 to 5 years, but Bayer priced it at 2.8 lakh rupees for just 1 month of pills. For most Indians, this is not a price tag. It is a...
I can't even pay that. I can't even pay that. I mean, forget it. I'm not going to survive. I'll just let my body go. I'll just let my body go. Bring my wife on to react. You mean my penguin? Oh, no. She's just going to rest.
Death sentence. Now, when Bloomberg asked Bayer CEO about this high pricing, you know what he said? He said, we did not develop this product for Indians. We developed it for Western patients who can afford it.
It's just blatant admittance. Blatant admittance. Because a lot of the stuff, it's just a ton of chemicals which go into the plants. And it's, in the end, like, there's a reason why those people that peddle meds and design meds and sell meds are ridiculously wealthy. Because they're selling it at an incredible... Because when it comes to saving their people to save their lives, they're willing to put any kind of bill forward. It's just like, take my money. Take my money. Oh, instead of like just being like, oh, people need medication, let's bring down the cost, which they've said it's going to happen in the US where the cost is being brought down, where you're just basically taxed a tiny bit to give profit to the creators of the drug instead of paying tons of money on top of everything. But oh my gosh.
In other words, this potentially life-saving medicines is not for poor Indians. It is for rich Westerners. But India did not stay silent. Overnight, India reduced the price of this medicine.
I am not a rich Westerner. I couldn't even afford that. I couldn't even afford that. And honestly, I wouldn't. I obviously wouldn't. I would just like be, okay, my body's fine. I'll just continue until my body wears out. It's ridiculous. I'm sure you can easily afford that. I know how much it is. And definitely not. For just well, that's a 120. How many tablets do you take a day? 3? Well, that'd have to be, no, 4. 4 tablets a day, if that's a month. And there's no way, I don't even get paid that much a month. Yeah, you have to take it until the entire thing goes down. There's no way.
From 2.8 lakh rupees to just 8,800 rupees. This is a 97% discount. But the magic part is, India did not steal this drug. They did not break any law. India played a strategic masterstroke. India manipulated global laws, undertook massive legal battles to ensure we not only are able to provide life-saving medicines at an affordable cost. Today, 40% of the medicines consumed in US are made in India. 60%.
Yep. The majority of them. The thing is like they get over here and then the people just change the packaging and then slap a massive price tag on it. Because everything started getting made in India, the majority of drugs, and then the U.S. didn't want to lose their monopoly on that kind of thing, so they just kept slapping on the price tag. Kept slapping on a massive price tag.
Percent of the vaccines in the world are made in India, making us the global pharmacy of the world. Welcome to the second layer. Now, to understand how India legally stole those medicines, we have to go back to 1970s. Before this year, India followed British patent laws. But in 1970, the Indian government passed a legendary piece of legislation, that is the Patents Act of 1970. This was the
Cool.
first strategic masterstroke that was going to make India the global pharmacy of the world in years to come. This act basically introduced two types of patents, the product patent and the other is process patent. Now let's take
Oh, that's smart. That's smart because if they have the product, you can easily patent the process. If you can make the process yourself and it's cheaper to make it yourself, then in the end, you have the product.
this iPhone for an example. This glass on the iPhone is called the Gorilla Glass and it is very resistant to crack. The patent for this doesn't belong to Apple. It belongs to a company called Corning. Now, does Apple know the exact composition of this glass? Of course, everyone knows that. But here's the catch. Even if Apple figures out a cheaper, faster or a smarter way to manufacture this exact same resistant glass with the exact same chemical composition, they still cannot do it. They are legally banned from doing it. Why? This is because Corning holds the product patent on this glass. Now, when India introduced the Patents Act of 1970, the essential things such as food, chemicals and pharmaceuticals, they could only be granted a process patent and not the product patent. While in the West, they used product patents. So if you, for example, invent a drug molecule, you would own the final product. The final molecule, you would own that. No one else could make that particular molecule, no matter how they do it. But India switched to process patents for medicines. Now what this meant? This meant you couldn't patent the drug itself. You could only patent the method of making it. And this created a massive loophole. For example, propranolol is a heart medicine. Now it was invented by Empirical Chemical Industries in England. Here, Dr. Hamid, who is a scientist as well as the owner of Cipla, took this heart medication, reverse engineered it.
Always the reverse engineering. I freaking love it. It's smart. It's smart. And guess what? It in the end, it saves lives and it helps people. And then the end, that's all that truly matters. I've always found it incredibly ridiculous. I understand if you're making something in the US, odds are it's going to be ridiculously overpriced and ridiculously expensive to the rest of the world because you're paying like the wages of like the American workers, you're paying the wages of running power in America, you're paying the wages of like all that stuff. So it makes sense. But when you're making something in like India, that gets all brought down because you can stretch stuff further. You can stretch stuff further. And guess what? It allows the people to actually be able to afford things. That's when they can actually start sending things elsewhere to the richer, well, not really richer, but the more expensive nations, slap a bigger price tag on it. And guess what? You end up getting pocketing a ton more cash.
Sold it at a very low cost to Indians. And all this is legal, by the way. The next example is even more crazy. Now, Western companies were selling a triple drug cocktail for HIV/AIDS in Africa for $12,000 per year, which is around 10 lakh rupees. What did Cipla do? Cipla reverse engineered this medication and sold it for rupees 22,000 a year, which is just around 60 rupees a day. This launched the golden era of Indian pharma companies. Companies like Cipla, Dr. Reddy's, Ranbaxy's of today became masters of reverse engineering at that time. They would simply take a drug that basically costed $1,000 in America and find a new way to synthesize it and sell it for $10 to the whole world. By the 1990s, India was self-sufficient and exporting cheap drugs to the developing world. But then came 1991. India went bankrupt. India had just enough foreign reserves to pay for just 3 weeks of imports. RBI had to secretly airlift 47 tons of gold to Bank of England and then 20 tons of gold to Union Bank of Switzerland, that is UBS, as a collateral to secure an emergency loan of $7 billion from International Monetary Fund or IMF. We could basically no longer isolate ourselves. We had to open up our economy to save our economy. So we joined World Trade Organization or WTO in 1995. Now, as part of WTO, we had to change our patent laws. The main condition of joining WTO was signing the TRIPS agreement. What is TRIPS? TRIPS is basically trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights. The WTO basically said, if you want to trade with the global economy, you have to respect the Western patents. Now, India was given a deadline. By 2005, India had to introduce product patents for medicines. Now for the Western pharma companies, this was a great news. They thought that the cheap, generic Indian medicines would basically cease to exist. But India here played the second strategic masterstroke. When India updated its patent law in 2005, India had to introduce product patents, which meant now reverse engineering foreign medicines was basically illegal. But now they also introduced a Section 3D in the law. Now this section 3D, as you will see in the video, is the magic ingredient that made India today what it is today when it comes to the global pharmacy. To understand the section 3D, you have to understand how these pharmaceutical companies misuse the patent law. So a patent is granted for...
Well, the thing is they misuse it because they always, like, it's the same thing with, like, Disney. Disney had copyright law, and they would always utilize it and misuse it for the longest time because it was like, I think it was originally 25 years you could copyright something for. And then they filed a case, put in a massive complaint, and then it got pushed to 50 years. The 50-year mark came around, they filed a complaint, pushed it down to 100 years. And then finally, the 100-year mark comes around. Disney is no longer held to such a high account because Disney basically ruined its own company. What is it? Oh, Bear, the company. Yeah, Disney ruined its own name by basically trying to push an agenda that nobody cared about. That absolutely nobody cared about, that it no longer had the power it used to basically sway an entire nation, to push back the laws for it to hold on to things. That's why you ended up having Steamboat Willie, the original Mickey Mouse, allowed for anyone to use it. Anyone can use it around the world now because it's public domain. It's absolutely available to everyone. I hate, but companies always use that same tack where they'll go to court and be like, no, we created this. We're still utilizing this. We're still monopolizing this. So we need to keep it. Every company does it because every company wants to keep their power. India be like, okay, we'll play your game. Yes, exactly. That's just how it has to be. And that's something I absolutely despise. I think innovation grows through necessity, but the problem is a lot of people who want to innovate are basically shut down before they even can. And that's a huge problem. And that's got to be like the biggest negative towards like capitalism, because the people who make it to the top, climbing the ranks, coming from nowhere, they end up ruining everything because they want to keep their seat at the top when they most likely already have enough to live a comfortable life and their children to live a comfortable life, yet they want to remain at the top without allowing anyone else to add new stuff or to push their idea or to do anything like that. So that's where you run into issues with something like capitalism. But it's good that other nations are starting to use the same tack because eventually it'll stop working.
20 years, and when the patent expires, a generic version of medicine can be legally made. Now, to prevent this, pharma company would do some small minor changes to the medicine drug, sometimes as small as changing the dosage of the medicine drug, and then refile the patent, effectively restarting this 20-year cycle. Now, this whole process, this thing is called evergreening. Section 3D of the Indian patent law is designed to specifically prevent this. It states that you cannot patent a new form of an older drug unless it shows significantly enhanced therapeutic efficacy. In simple terms, if your new drug doesn't actually cure the patient better than the old one, you don't get to have a brand new patent. This single stage in our constitution set the stage of a war between the Indian government and the world's biggest pharmaceutical companies. One of the first cases came from Swiss pharma giant Novartis. Novartis had a blockbuster cancer drug called Glivec. The patent for the original cancer-fighting drug molecule was already granted to Novartis back in 1993. In 1998, they wanted to patent a beta-crystalline form of the same drug in India. Now, while in the US, this patent was granted easily and effectively it restarted their 20-year patent cycle, in India, the patent office said no. They basically cited Section 3D, arguing that this was just a minor modification of an old molecule and it didn't improve the efficacy enough to basically warrant a renewed patent. Now, what did Novartis do? Novartis sued. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court. In 2013, the court ruled against Novartis because the new drug did not show an improvement over the old drug. The result is today, while Novartis sells Glivec for 1,17,000 rupees per month, the Indian generic version sells for 8,000 rupees a month. Now, for someone who is a heart patient, this is a significant difference. Now, executing a strategy like evergreening is incredibly complex. Imagine trying to track hundreds of minor chemical modifications, thousands of legal deadlines, and patent filings across 50 different countries. One missed deadline here could cost a pharma company billions. Now, you can relate to this, especially if you're someone who manages teams, multiple clients, or multiple deadlines. Chaos is the enemy of the growth, but you can find order in this chaos. This is why you need Odoo projects. Now, Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that helps...
you got an ad. I'm going to turn this on. I have a freaking thing flying around. Yeah, that's actually pretty interesting. I like how there's a chance for everyone to be able to fight it out, basically, to fight it out. I as much as I enjoy capitalism because it allows you basically anyone to have a chance, the same time the people who get to the top try to shut down. I mean, it happens in any kind of industry. Those who get at the top and realize they're no longer as popular as they used to
Control of
be,
your project. No
they try to shut them
chaos.
down.
The best part is though, your first app on Udo
Oh,
is
still
free
going.
for life. This means full unrestricted access.
Hello, Ajay. Hello. React to the EU deal? I am not aware of that. Well, I know there's a deal, but...
Now, even though Section 3D of the Indian Patent Act could stop this evergreening and stop this misuse of the patent law, but this was also not enough. Because when we are talking about life-saving drugs, waiting for 20 years for the patent to expire just to get cheap medicine is too much. It's too much of a compromise with the life-saving part of it. This is where India's strategic third masterstroke comes in. Now, this strategic masterstroke is called compulsory licensing. Now, let's come back to the company that owns Saradon, Bayer Pharmaceuticals. The company Bayer Pharmaceuticals has a valid patent for the drug Nexavar, as it was mentioned in the starting of the video. Now, if someone is suffering from kidney or liver cancer, this medicine can potentially increase patient's life by 4 to 5 years. Now, what is the cost of this medication? The cost of this medication is 2.8 lakh rupees for a month's worth of dosage. So what is the price of human life? I don't know, but apparently Bayer has put a hefty price tag to it. In an interview with Bloomberg, when pressed about this high price, he even said we did not develop this product for the Indians, we developed it for the Western patients who can afford it. Now, in cases like these, where you can...
I think that's basically saying Indian lives aren't worth as much. I think that's basically what it's saying because honestly, Westerners have more money to burn and no, that's not true. They don't have more money to burn. It's just the cost of living is astronomically expensive, which is why it's like that. So it's not that Indian lives are not as worth as much, but they'll make far more money selling to like Westerners. So they'll never bring down the cost because the problem is, like for me, I'll most likely never buy clothes here in the US ever again, especially since I'm going to be flying back to India with my wife almost every year whenever the process finally finishes. Odds are I'll just do my clothes shopping when I'm there. Same thing with maybe drugs. Maybe we'll just start buying a ton of drugs in advance, come back here, and because it'd just be cheaper. It'd be cheaper. What's the same thing? Medicine are drugs. It's the same thing. Okay, medicine. Apparently there's a clear difference.
not wait for the patent to expire. There's too much health and life cost associated with it. India exercised Section 84 of the Indian Patent Act. Now,
They're the same thing. They're the same exact thing. They're literally interchangeable. Literally interchangeable. But okay.
this is called compulsory licensing. Under this, the government can force a company to license their drug to a generic Indian manufacturer if 3 conditions are met. Number 1, the public's requirements are not being met currently. Second, the price is not reasonably affordable. 2.8 lakhs a month is not a reasonably affordable price. Number 3, drug is not being manufactured in India, which was again the case with Bayer Pharmaceuticals. Due to this, an Indian company called Natco Pharma got the license to manufacture and sell Nexavar, and the cost of this medicine by Natco Pharma was just 8,800 rupees per month. Now, this was the first ever case of compulsory licensing granted by India, but it proved that...
Why is everyone outnumbering me? No. Drugs are... medicine is a form of drugs. They are drugs. They're manufactured drugs. Sure, they're not illegal drugs, but they are drugs. I don't know. How am I getting outnumbered here? How am I getting outnumbered here? Okay. Oh, wrong thing. My bad. I need to search it up. Definition of... Come on. Drug. A medicine or other substance which has a psychological effect when ingested. Psychological effect? When ingested, otherwise introduced into the body. What? What? Did you like get a master's degree in chemistry or something? Don't rub it in my face. Cool. I am not aware what's going on with the chats, but
India valued public health
They're not
more
popping up.
than shareholder profits. These legal victories didn't just help India.
I'm still gonna call them drugs. I'm still gonna call them drugs. It's just easier for me. It's easier for me. Because it just sounds funny when I say, oh, I grew up medically ill. I had to take a ton of drugs to get better. Just funnier. It's just funnier.
They help the world. Today, India is the third largest pharmaceutical manufacturer by volume. Our exports are increasing constantly, totaling to around $30 billion. 50% of Africa's medicines, 40% of USA's medicines, 25% of UK's medicines are supplied by India. They are made in India. 60% of the global vaccines are supplied by India. India used its low cost. It operated at 30% lower cost than the US to become pharmacy of the world. Now, although it looks like a success story, India being the world's pharmacy, there is a hidden weakness. While India dominates the final stage of making medicines, now to make these medicines, you need raw ingredients. These raw ingredients have a name. They are called APIs, also known as active pharmaceutical ingredients. So even though India makes medicines for the world, the raw material to make these medicines is actually imported from China. Look at the pharmaceutical exports graph starting from the year 2001. As we have already established, it's constantly rising. The world is dependent on India for its medicines. But now, look at the imports of APIs from China. This is the problem. For some of the most critical antibiotics like penicillin, amoxicillin, and azithromycin, India's dependence on China is nearly 90% to 100%. So how did this happen? How did we reach here? In the 1990s, China was a very minor player in this pharmacy world. But then the Chinese government subsidized their chemical industry. Now this created massive economies of scale and undercut Indian manufacturers. Indian companies basically started making the raw ingredients because it was cheaper to just import them from China. If today trade with
The issue with like importing from China, you don't know if you're getting. So my brother works for like a very, very kind of precision kind of industry, and he had order placed for like a copper or is it copper or something that's good for like basically a space rocket, like screws for a space rocket. And they had ordered the parts from China only to find out that it wasn't like 100% pure copper or whatever it's supposed to be, or bronze or whatever. And all of them were a complete waste because it was mixed with other stuff. I mean, you have to always be careful with that kind of thing. You always need to test it. Plus, also, you need to do that for everywhere you ship from. But yeah, it's just sometimes things get mixed. Sometimes things get mixed.
China stops due to a border conflict or let's say an epidemic which has happened, the pharmacy of the world shuts down in days. The global supply chain has tied India and China together in this, and therefore right now this global supply chain of the global pharmacy is very fragile. The dependence is so deep that even for simple pain relievers like ibuprofen or paracetamol, India has to rely on China for over 90% of the input ingredients. Now, recognizing this existential threat, the Indian government has launched a counteroffensive. This is called the PLI scheme, or the Production Linked Incentive Scheme. The government is pouring billions of dollars into creating what we call as bulk drug parks. The goal is to pay Indian companies to restart the manufacturing of these raw ingredients domestically instead of being dependent on China. Under the new scheme, companies are building massive fermentation plants to bring penicillin production back to India. So did India steal the world's most expensive medicines? Now, from the perspective of Western CEOs or Western shareholders, Indian laws will seem like theft and unfair, obviously.
But it's literally the same thing that the West does with laws and everything. So it's like it's all fair game. It's funny how it's like no, it's theft. Just look at it from the other side, and it's looked as like, oh, you're putting up a wall to prevent someone else from doing something. I always find it funny how people will use certain things as an argument. It's just like no. Everyone has the same options and opportunities. You just have to look at it from the other side. China is superior economically, but militarily, I don't know. It aspires to be a great power, but I can't even match Russia. But I can't even match Russia, let alone USA. Never know. I mean, yeah, the knowledge that comes out of China is always like completely censored. They censor their own internet. They censor all that stuff. I mean, yeah, it's they have full control.
I'll argue that without these profits, new cures won't be invented. But as a society, I believe we have to ask the hard question. Now, what is the point?
China has built its entire tech infrastructure by stealing from USA. Well, Yes, because it's funny. Again, I have 4 brothers, and all of them are like well placed and have great jobs. One of them was basically working at a plant that which was gonna revolutionize a new car battery, an electric car battery, and they were gonna do a tour. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of these people that came off because you're not allowed phones, you're not allowed to record or do audio or anything. Like you're not allowed to. And all of a sudden, a tour bus, for a Chinese tour bus, parks there, and then everyone just completely runs out of the bus, pulls out their phones, pulls out cameras, and starts recording everything. And there's only like 4 security guys having to run around and try to collect people's phones before they can get some information that they're not supposed to have. I forget what it's called. Like specialty knowledge. So it's funny because like my brother was telling that story. It was just like, it was so annoying. It was so annoying because they would come out and it was obvious that they understood. It's obvious that they spoke English, but they would pretend not to because then it's just like they have more time to record some stuff as another person runs off to record something else.
Of inventing a cure if the people who need it cannot afford it. India for now has won the battle of supplying cheap medicines to the world. In the next 2 decades, we also have to become inventor of new medicines for the world. The stage is set, the ecosystem is there, and the world is desperate for an affordable healthcare. If you love this video, do share a like and don't forget to check out Udo from the link in the description or just by simply scanning.
I like that. And I don't like how I'm getting all the world leaders in my chat. You guys need to cut it out. Yeah, Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping has joined. Kim Jong-un. Yeah. Vladimir Putin joins every now and then. I had Modi, right? Modi. And then I had, Trump as well. You guys need to stop that. But yeah, I mean, like that's the thing. It's just like, I hate how he was like, oh, but it's like, no. He should have said, well, it's the same thing's done both ways. You can either build a wall and prevent them from trying to, like with the patent laws and everything, they try to prevent people. But at the same time, everyone needs the option to heal their loved ones. And if you look at it from that aspect, it's just like, yes. Certain things, it's different, but it like, where does the balance lie? Where each nation should have the rights, the same kind of rights as people from another nation, and where is it that this should be patented to where not everyone deserves the same rights? If that makes any sense, there should be like a scale for certain things. But yeah, that's just I did enjoy that. That was very informative.
You guys got a video?
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Wait on that.